Let's learn how to make a budget. Hey, it's Jamie. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make a budget. So whether this is your first budget or you've tried budgeting before, this video is going to give you a solid roadmap of how to set up your income and your expenses so you can successfully track those in an actual budget. I also want to throw out a disclaimer. This video is not a step-by-step walkthrough of making a spreadsheet and actually making a budget. This video is more designed to do the work of tracking down and finding what your expenses are, how much you're paying each month, analyzing your income, and filling out and writing down your budget categories, more so than actually making the budget. I'm going to make a whole nother video that is walking you through the spreadsheet side with the formulas and actually set up your budget. And this is like the pre-work for making your budget. But if this is your first budget, I want you to just leave a comment that says first budget. So let's dive into teaching you how to make a budget. The first thing is to set goals you care about. I learned early on when I was making my first budget that the reason why you're making the budget is a lot more important than how to make a budget. If your only reason to make a budget is because you just want to be better with money, it might not be super motivating to keep going in the long haul. You might be motivated for a couple weeks, but where are you going to be 6 months, 8 months, a year from now, 5 years from now? Are you still going to be motivated to track your spending and entering your numbers into a spreadsheet? Maybe. That's why having a really big goal that you care about, or maybe a few goals you care about, is going to help you stay on track and stay motivated to keep budgeting, putting in the work consistently over and over again. I knew really early on that I wanted to marry my girlfriend Jenna and that we wanted to start a family. We wanted to have a cute, cuddly little baby, but a big obstacle to that was $100,000 in combined debt that we had. Yay for debt. And we were both teachers, so we didn't have really high salaries to compensate for that huge amount of debt that we had. We knew we needed to change our behavior and pay off our debt before we could really start a family. We knew that daycare and $920 worth of student loan debt was not going to mix very well. Here's a quick exercise I want you to do. I want you to grab a piece of paper, a napkin, something close to you, and write down 5 goals that you really truly care about. So this could be maybe you want to get married, you want to buy a house, you want to go on an anniversary trip. What are 5 goals that you care about? And I'd write the first 5 things that come to your mind. Don't worry about any of the details of it. Just gut feeling, first 5 goals that come to your mind, write them down. Let me give you an example. We made a goal to pay off all $100,000 of our debt in 5 years onto teacher salary. It sounded super crazy, like impossible. That is an extra $20,000 that we would have to find somewhere in our budget or make extra money, $20,000 extra every year to pay off $100,000. That sounded insane, but it gave us a target to shoot for. Even if we would have come up short of that and paid off in 7 years, we still would have been really happy with that because it would have been way sooner than if we would have stuck to the minimum payments that we were making at the time. Okay, now you've got your goals. I want you to set those aside. We'll come back to those at the end of this video. The next step of getting set up to make a budget is to write down all of your income and expense. And so income might be pretty easy. You might just have one income stream and that's your current job. If you have multiple income streams, write all of them down and the approximate how much money you make in those per month. If you don't know that off the top of your head, you can always look it up later. But for the sake of this exercise, just write down your best guess of how much you make per month at each of those income streams. You want to do the same thing with all of your expenses. So write down all the expenses you can think of off the top of your head. Write down not only the name of the expense, but also how much you pay in that per month. So take a few minutes to do that. And so pause this video. We'll continue on once you have that list set up. All right, so we've got your income, you've got your expenses all listed out with your best guess of how much each of those is and how much you're paying for those. There are 2 basic types of expenses that we're going to categorize or we're going to think about. These are fixed expenses and flex expenses. So fixed expenses are expenses that are the same every single month. And when you're making a budget, these are really easy to think about because your rent doesn't change. Your phone bill probably doesn't change. Car payment stays the same. Internet bill stays the same. Another way to think about fixed expenses is bills. What are the bills you have to pay every month? They should have a due date and they should be pretty consistent every single month. So right next to all those, write fixed and then write the due date if you have a due date for them. The other type of expense we're going to look at is a flexible expense. And this is something that is variable and might change from month to month. So things like how much gas you're putting in your car, your grocery bill, your eating out budget, date fund, how much money you're spending going out and hanging out with friends. We call that our community fund. It could be personal spending. All those expenses that you have written down that don't have a due date or aren't necessarily a bill, write flex next to those. This is going to help organizing this once we actually get to putting this into a spreadsheet or writing this down on a paper budget. And again, it's okay if you don't know how much some of these flexible expenses are. I found that the more you budget and the more consistently you do it, you get a good idea of how much you spend going out to eat every month, on groceries every single month, putting gas in your car every single month. And then once you've budgeted for a couple months, you have a better idea and you can start using that number number as the budget number that you're trying to stay under. For example, when I first made my very first budget, I had no idea how much I spent on food every month. I was a single person, and so I just threw out $200. I'll guess I spent $200 on food every single month. Then I started tracking my expenses, and it turned out it was pretty close. Okay, at this point, you've got your income, fixed and flexible expenses. And if you wanted to reorganize your fixed and flexible expenses like into their own separate lists, like one list for all fixed, one list for all flex, just because you're an organizationally minded person, you love organization. That's what I'm trying to say. If you love organization, want to split those up into two separate lists, feel free to do that. What I want you to do now is take your income, subtract all your expenses to see if you are in the positive or the negative. If you're in the positive, your budget is looking really nice and you're having a surplus at the end of every month that you can choose what you want to do with. If you're working hard to pay off debt, that can be extra money to pay off debt. If you are working to build an emergency fund, that's one of your goals, is to save money. You can put that extra money towards one of those top 5 goals that we wrote down right at the beginning of this video. The goal is to be in the positive, to have extra money left over. If you are looking at this that you're negative, then we have some work to do to maybe trim some things out, and I've got some other videos to help you do that. At the start of this video, I had you write down your top 5 goals and priorities that you wanted to work towards. Some of the best advice I can give for how to make a budget is to make sure that you have these goals in your budget so that you're motivated to work towards them. I mentioned this at the top of the video, but it's worth mentioning again. If you don't have goals that you care about, it's going to be a lot harder to stick with your budget. If you have a goal that you're super passionate about and you are really jazzed to start working towards and maybe saving money towards, just write it down in the comments. What's your goal that you're really excited about right now? And so then looking at how do you fit these goals into your budget? Like, you've written down your income, you've written down your expenses. How do your goals fit into all that? If you are saving to buy a house and you're just funneling money into your savings account every single month, you need a line item in your budget that says house fund, and it has to be in your budget, and you have to set aside a certain amount of money for that every single month. Otherwise, you're never going to reach that goal. When my wife and I got married, we knew that we wanted to go to Ireland for our 5-year anniversary. So we set up a sinking fund, and I've got another video on sinking fund if you want to click on the card up there, and I'll leave it also in the description down below. But we set up a sinking fund so that we would funnel $50 into our savings account every single month for our trip to Ireland. We knew that if we didn't set it as a priority in our budget, that it would probably never happen. Along with your income and expenses, add it as another either fixed or flexible expense. If you can commit to doing that every single month, put it in as a fixed expense. If sometimes you put $50, sometimes you put $100 in there, put it as a flex expense, wherever it seems to fit the best for you. But if it's a goal that you really care about and it's a priority, I'd put it in as a fixed expense that you're gonna put money towards every single month. If it's important to you, put it in your budget. Even if you can't afford to put money towards all of them right now, you'll see them there, you'll be reminded of them, and as you get better at budgeting, as you find ways to save money and make more money, you'll be able to start working towards your other goals as well. Okay, then my last piece of advice for starting a budget is to include things that are fun in your budget. If budgeting becomes this chore and this hassle, you're not gonna wanna do it. So I think it's important to put things in your budget that you have fun with. For example, my wife loves the scrapbooks, and that's really important to her, and she loves doing it. So we put in a $25 budget every single month for her to buy scrapbooking supplies. We did the same thing for baking. My wife loves to bake. We put that into our budget so that we knew that we could afford it, and that was something that brings her joy. She loves doing it. That's why we have a date fund or a date night line in our budget. That's why we have a community fund in our budget, because we love spending time with each other. We love spending time with our friends. It brings us a lot of joy and it's a lot of fun. So make your budget fun. All right, that's it. That's my guide for how to make a budget and how to set up your budget. I'm going to make another video that actually walks you through taking all the things, work you did right now, and putting it into a spreadsheet. There's also all kinds of budgeting software and tools out there available to you. Some are free, some are paid, but I'm going to put some of my recommendations down in the description. And I've also made some other videos on Tiller automated budgets as well. Before you go, I want to give you one more chance to leave any comments that you have or questions about how to set up a budget and how to make a budget, about budgeting in general. Leave them down in the comments. And if you're looking for more videos on how to budget, save money, and get out of debt, I've got some links down in the description just for some nice binge-worthy content of saving money and budgeting. And I'm not just on YouTube. You can find me over at my blog, mrjamiegriffin.com. I'm also on Instagram. I have a private Facebook group called the Get Debt Free Community, where it's just a bunch of people that are working hard to save money, budget, and ultimately get out of debt. And so if you'd like to be part of that community, get some people in your corner helping you on this journey of paying off debt, that's an awesome place, and I'll put the links for those down in the description as well. And I hope to see you there. So that's it. Until next time, happy budgeting.